Copyright, trademark, and patent are the three main components of the intellectual property law. Patent protects inventions, as it gives the inventor a monopoly on the manufacture, use, or sale of his innovation, while copyright protects creative works, such as writing, visual art, music and audio recordings, from unauthorized reproduction. While trade dress is the look and feel of a product, its shape, packaging, and design that signify the source of the product to consumers. On the other hand, trademarks are brand names, which are labeled to products and services. The mark is a distinguished sign, like a word, phrase, symbol, or a combination of these elements. A mark is used in business to indicate the source of the brand, in order to distinguish and identify it in the market. Trademark protects the customers by preventing the public confusion as to the origin or quality of a product, in addition to rewarding the brand owner by maintaining his business' successful reputation. Unlike most countries, the American law protects a brand, even if it's not registered, which is known as the common law trademark rights. As the trademark ownership belongs to the first seller, who use and trade the brand in the market. A trademark infringement could happen when a likelihood of confusion exists between trademarks, which means that the brands are very similar, that consumers would mistakenly believe the two products come from the same source. In this case, the fake brand has to stop misleading the market, and is liable to pay damages to the original brand owner. However, trademark protection is not absolute, as it's subject to certain limits, such as the trademark abandonment, geographic limitation, and the fair use of the brand by a third party.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We are here today to present our final project with the title of Comparison of Intellectual Property Right between Malaysia and United States. Can we start now? Let's go. So the objective of this project is to explain the definition of intellectual property, to state the importance of intellectual property, and to compare the differences between intellectual property in Malaysia and United States. So firstly, before we start, we're going to find out what is intellectual property. Intellectual property right is the ownership of intangible and non-physical goods. So, there are four components in intellectual property, which is copyright, patent, trademark, and industrial design. Differences between copyright, patent, trademark, and industrial design. Copyright is any sign that is produced by certain individual for certain goods, for example, songwriter. For patent, patent is exclusive right granted to anyone who created a new way of doing something, for example, inventor. Trademark is a distinctive sign that identifies certain goods or services produced or provided by an individual or a company, for example, McDonald's logo. Industrial design is the owner of a registered industrial design or patent has the right to prevent third parties from making, selling, or importing articles, for example, industrial design. The importance of intellectual property is innovators and creators can have legal protection of their ideas and creations. Intellectual property rights in Malaysia. When does intellectual property law in Malaysia is empowered? law or enforcement of intellectual property in Malaysia. Although intellectual property laws in Malaysia are in place and confirmed with international standard, enforcement initiative government agencies is required to effectively protect both foreign and local investors. Intellectual property in United States. When does intellectual property law in United States of America is empowered? Law or enforcement of intellectual property in United States of America. Despite enforcing intellectual property law for over a few years now, what problems does these two countries face? One of the crimes in intellectual property which involve copyright is piracy, which means reproducing, distributing, displaying, or performing a work without permission from the copyright holder, which is typically a publisher. Copyright holder can only get money damage if the owner registers the copyright, for example, movie. One of the intellectual property crime that involve patent is counterfeit, which means using or selling a patented invention without permissions from the patent holder. Patent infringement cases are handled under civil law. Another intellectual property crime which involves trademark infringement is when one party uses a trademark that is identical or confusingly similar to a trademark owned by another party. Trademark receive protection without registration, but registering a trademark provides legal advantages for enforcement. Industrial design infringement happens when the owner of a registered industrial design and patent has the right to prevent third parties from making, selling design which is a copy or the protected design when such acts are undertaken for commercial purposes. Next, did you know what will happen to those who violate intellectual property laws in the United States and Malaysia? According to the Copyright Act 1987, if you get caught for copyright violation in Malaysia, the criminal needs to pay 2,000 ringgit per infringing copy if the person is found guilty. For trademark, the person shall on conviction be liable to a fine exceeding 250,000 ringgit or to imprisonment not exceeding 5 years or to both for any subsequent offence. According to Section 106 of the Copyright Act Title 17 of U.S. Code, if you get caught for copyright violation in the United States of America, the criminal may be ordered to pay not less than $750 and not more than $30,000 per work infringed. Next, for violating the trademark law in the US, the fine needs to be compensating the trademark holder for the lost profit or profit obtained by the infringement. The damage awarded to the trademark holder can be tripled. So I think by now, if you're thinking of violating the intellectual property laws, you might have discovered that it is a very bad idea. Not only you will get fined, but you might also get imprisoned. Let's be considerate of other people's property because they've spent a lot of time and effort into their work. From the figure, we can conclude that United States experienced the highest cases of patent, trademarks, and industry design in intellectual property compared to Malaysia. Despite United States has implemented the law of intellectual property, the rate of crime in intellectual property are still higher due to the high technology. With that, I think that's all from us. Thank you everyone for watching.